for inviting me. I hope I'm speaking about opportunities today more than about problems, because I find Anyang City to be a very beautiful and inspiring place to visit. So the title of my talk is Peace, Harmony, and a Livable City, Working with Communities. And this is taken from some of the information about Anyang City's striving, and also the subtitle of our conference, which is Working with Communities. And because I have done this as a musician and writer before graduate studies, I understand how complicated and important neighborhood, local politics and leadership and residents are to building a city that people want to live in. So Gyeonggi-do and Seoul together comprise the Greater Seoul Metropolitan Region, which is one of the largest urban areas of the world. And Anyang City, and especially its new city component of Pyeongtaek, has been very busy transforming itself from low-rise, often self-made buildings to high-rise apartment towers in just a few decades. So drawing upon a homegrown, internationally respected construction industry and speculative fever of the new middle class of South Korea, the condominium buying public has helped to bring about sweeping changes in the dominant style of residential housing in this region, as most of you know. So by the end of the first decade of the 21st century, the options for middle-class living, other than apartments, are fading, and apartment living is actually the preferred norm for those who can afford the apartments, but not their own freestanding house. The resulting urban lifestyle has greatly improved physical comfort and efficiency of daily living, along with much increased monetary costs, not just utilities bills, but also many telephones per house and high-speed internet, computers, etc. Working class families struggle as traditional neighborhoods with less expensive housing disappear. Although cities such as Anyang, a formal industrial city, become gradually deindustrializing, I would say the working class population still remains as part of the city. Instead of blue-collar jobs, they may perform service industry jobs, which, as we've found in the West, may pay even less than factory work did in the past. This photo is of urban Korea in the 1980s in the area of Sadangdong, southern Seoul, right over the Kwanak Mountain. From here. Although this street scene may look outdated to the Korean eye, you can sense there is great warmth in people's experience of street life in this traditional poor neighborhood, which is no more. I know you may feel uncomfortable to view the first few slides, but please bear with me to confront the context of the reality that we face. So this photo shows a scene that greeted participants from the Anywi's architectural tour in 1995. It's of a neighborhood resistance to redevelopment, again in the southern part of Seoul City. Oftentimes, these very common resistances were not opposed so completely to apartment living, but instead opposed the dislocation that was implied. So the lower income residents who could not afford to remain in the neighborhood felt they were used as pawns in what has been called by Harvey as this phrase, accumulation by dispossession. I understand the Korean translation of this is 탈취에 의한 축적? Something like that. So it's basically capital accumulation at the expense of some residing group of people. So you can see the tower built where residents cooked rice every night during the 1990s, during their struggle to keep the right to stay in the neighborhood after it was redeveloped. So today, with the new form of new city development, which rebuilds older city neighborhoods, the tabula rasa approach is still predominant. This means clean slate, to start building from an empty, clean slate. So this may be less appropriate for an older urban neighborhood that is already densely populated with many types of people living there. This photo from January 2009, also in the old half of Seoul, shows a relatively new building, maybe less than 20 years old, in a newly evicted, very large redevelopment area, which abuts the restored Cheonggyecheon stream, which we heard about during our tour yesterday as a comparison to the very beautiful stream of Anyang. Now, redevelopment in the Greater Seoul metropolitan area is not anymore just about creating a system of permit-built, privately owned homes, legally built homes, I mean, as opposed to the self-built homes perhaps on squatted land that predominated in the 1960s and 70s during the rapid urbanization of this region. But now in 2009, redevelopment is often about increasing density by 200 or 300% or more, by erasing most buildings less than 3 or 4 stories high. So in this case, the buildings are not substandard, but there's a new plan for the neighborhood. So this shows a Christmas Mass that was held in this part of town this past Christmas on a very cold winter day in an industrial alleyway. And it's part of this new town designated area in northern Seoul, which is one of the last working class, cheaper residential areas. But it is also a light industry cluster area for small metal shops. So sadly, new